Next time, Keith. That's a reason for you to go back. Viewers and listeners, we're going to rock and roll. We got Keith Smith in the house. Keith Smith is in the house.
No rum. The buddy that owns the rum distillery.
Viewers and listeners can hear you. Tell us about the rum. We'll save it for on air as well.
Yeah.
Like and share the show, viewers and listeners. Keith Smith is back.
Thank you. They were on vacation.
Welcome back. He's sun-kissed, freshly bronzed.
I don't know about that.
How you feeling, Keith, before the show starts?
I am feeling good. A little stressed. We got a busy weekend this weekend. We're officially moving my mother and father into our house, so we've got moving trucks and stuff like that. So wish us a little luck. This is going to be a busy weekend and a little emotional for my parents.
How you feel about it before the show starts?
I personally, I'm looking forward to it. As I was teasing my mother, I said, dinner is when?
Very nice, very nice, very nice. I'm coming over too, Mrs. Smith.
Yeah. She'll have dinner on the table at 7. Do I have to separate my whites from my colors?
No, leave the tidy whities alone over there. Judah Wickower behind the camera. Viewers and listeners can't wait for the show to start. I see the comments already.
We're looking forward to it, actually. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to doing the show with you. I'm glad you're back.
2 weeks, yeah. I'm a little...
I just did a roof inspection on a flat roof in downtown Charlottesville with no shade. It must have been 100 degrees up there.
Oh, when did you do that?
Literally before I walked in here.
Oh, jeez.
Flat roofs are no joke.
Oh, and you got to know what you're looking at, too.
Yeah, flat roofs. If you're not careful and those drains don't drain, water collects.
And you got to be careful and make
we
sure...
We had rooftop services.
I just saw the truck drove by. There you go.
Rooftop services.
Is it this building?
This building, our building, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Like and share the show, Judah Wickower, let's get this party started.
Oh, I don't need to sip that's my first coffee for the day, by the way.
I've been up since 5:30 this morning. This is my third cup of coffee.
Well, I've been up since 5:30, but believe it or not, that's my first cup of coffee. So if Smith's a little lethargic, it's only because he's on his first cup.
I don't think Smith's ever lethargic. Judah Wickower has got his microphone in front of him. Holy moly. Look at that. Just in case. He's got a button-down shirt and an underpants on and slacks as well. Judah Wickower rocks that look better than anyone I know. I
got to turn my hearing aids on. I heard underpants.
Slacks, undershirt. Judah Wickower, let's get this party started.
Quiet on the set.
Quiet on the set. Good to have you, Keith.
It's good to be back. I
missed you.
I always miss you. I was telling. Oh, sorry. We're supposed to shut up.
He started it.
Huh?
He started
it. And how old are we?
Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for watching Real Talk with Keith Smith on the I Love CVille Network, one of our flagship shows. Keith Smith, the star of the program, his name on the marquee, his title executive producer, and ladies and gentlemen, he is fresh from the Caribbean, where he has been sun-kissed, where he has been rocking Birkenstocks, Ray-Bans, and a G-string Speedo. I'm just kidding. He has been doing that. The Birkenstocks.
How do you know?
Have you been rocking a G-string Speedo?
Yeah, it's
and a G-string Speedo.
It's a French island.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the French island. But he is back. He is back. He is back. And it's up to us to make him feel special, and I'll tell you what, and it's the benefit of our community to have Keith Smith hosting this show, the water cooler of real estate, the man who is the voice of real estate in Charlottesville, Albemarle, and Central Virginia, Keith Smith of Yes Realty Partners. If there's a name you can trust in Central Virginia, it's Yes Realty Partners. Ladies and gentlemen, Judah Wickower behind the camera, studio camera, two-shot, Keith Smith. ¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué pasa, amigo? Or as they would say in French, bonjour. Good morning.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Hola, ¿qué pasa?
¿Qué
tal?
Yona, by the time we got to the end of the second week, was back fluent with French. And poor me, we're sitting around going, huh? Oh.
I mean, Yona speaks 5 languages.
Yeah, well, she translates 3.
Okay.
Simultaneously. She can do English, German, and French and translate them simultaneously amongst one another.
That's amazing.
And she's working on my English, but one of these days I'll get my English down. It was great. It was a great trip. It was good. It's our second home. I was telling somebody on the way in this morning, my goal always is when we get there that somebody will walk up to us and ask us if we're local. And
it's happening.
That happens about a week in. and people start asking, you local, can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? So it's a lot of fun, and it's a second home, and the folks down there are like family, and they are family for all intents and purposes. I had a great time.
How is is there a culture shock coming back to the States in Fluvanna and Charlottesville and Albemarle County after spending so long in the Caribbean?
Wow. Great question. It takes us about 48 hours to adjust that way. It takes us 48 hours to adjust coming back this way, because it's a French island, so everything is French, right? It's just the way the French eat and the way the French do everything. So it takes a little adjustment back into it, but we worked all the time, and we're blessed, right? We worked down there. I showed Judah the picture of our office, which didn't suck, but we worked and did a couple of deals down there. So we're welcome to get back into the swing of things and the swing of the show. I don't really have anything today.
I have plenty, my friend.
I know. I told Yona this morning I'm going to do a little data post and a little bit of election post, all that stuff. But I'm pretty sure Jerry's going to start walking me down.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Walking me down, and I'm going to keep my Caribbean tempo like this. So.
First, a holistic question.
Holistic.
A bird's eye view of the market. Goodness gracious, it seems to have slowed.
Oh, yeah.
Woody Fincham highlighted that it was slowing on the show. Yeah. Agents on social media highlighting that it's slowing on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Is slowing the right word, or is it getting closer to normal? Right? It's definitively slower than what it was. I think, because I was crunching some data, I think the summer market, I think the spring market sprung in the winter, and the summer market sprung in the end of the so-called spring market or spring area. But look, I'm looking at it right now. We still got 86 homes that came on the market in a week. For a while there, it was 100 plus, 120, 130. We never hit the 150 mark. But the pendings are a little slower, right? The pendings are at 77, news at 86. So we're kind of getting back to a little bit of a balanced market. But look, I did a post, and I'll just paraphrase it. I looked, believe it or not, down there, I had people asking us about the real estate market, right? Wherever you go.
You're an expert.
Well, it's just everybody wants to know, right? So why does houses sell in 5 days, and why does houses take longer to sell in 5 days? And you know the answer to that. The data just supports it. It's either not in the right location, they're overpriced. The sellers for the most part are starting to get it, but for the most part, sometimes they overprice them. And if it doesn't sell in a week, if you don't price that right and in the right conditions and the right location and all the 6 rights we talk about all the time, it's going to go over. It's going to go substantially over the 5-day mark. So, it's a.
Is the market soft?
No.
Is the market soft? I'll ask you one more time.
As my Pakistani friends would say, maybe yes, maybe no.
You got a pocket in this market that is red hot, and that is Ivy. If it gets listed in Ivy, it goes under contract in Ivy. You got a number of other locations, ladies and gentlemen, in Central Virginia.
So in Albemarle County, do you know what this top subdivision is from the beginning of, and it's a loaded question, from the beginning of this year until today, you know what the top number one selling, most homes are sold in what subdivision?
Tell us.
None. It's a category none. So they're 10% of all the sales that sold in 0 to 6 days were none. 15% in the 6+ days. But let's just take a look at Albemarle County, because you got 0 to 6, there was 217 sales. The median sales price was $625. The median list price was $600. So we sold for $25. 49% had primary on the main level. Average days, medium days on market, that sold between 0 to 6 days was 3. Top subdivision was 10%, which was none. 70% were in the HOA on it. 6 days and over, there were 288 sales. The list price versus the sales price is the opposite. That's why pricing is so important, right? There was a sale price of $540, median sales price. The list price was $550. So if you went over 6 days, you sold your house for less. If you priced your house right, you sold your house in 6 days and over in Albemarle County. No subdivision, 69, roughly 70% was that. So you were sold roughly $10,000 less.
So I'm going to ask you one more time. Is the market soft?
If you overpriced it, soft. If you don't price it right, it's soft. But if you priced it right and you're in the right location in Albemarle County, you're selling it in 3 days. But you got to be priced right. You got to be in the right location. And that's from one street to the other. You got to have the right features. You got to have the right conditions. Is what we were talking about. If you don't hit any of those things right, you're going to be soft. Excuse me, in Albemarle County, your average days, medium days on market with 6 days and over was 23. 0 to 6 days, if you priced it right, it was 3. So price matters. And it's the same in all the jurisdictions, right? They're all the same. The city of Charlottesville was the same kind of thing. The median sales price was for 0 to 6 days was $559. List was $549. So they sold more. The slower units in the city of Charlottesville, it was the opposite. It was $485 was the median days, 6 days and over. Versus $500,000 in list. So they sold for roughly $15,000 less. So pricing in this market, price matters. If you go in too high, just think about this, it's 6 days, right? If you go past your first weekend and you don't have any activity in 6 days, you're priced wrong. It's that simple. So defining soft in today's market is a difficult definition, right? And we've been talking about this forever, that, you know, the micro market matters, right? Location matters. Compared to the unicorn years, yeah, 100%. And you know what? Thank God. Thank God we're not in the market where 4 walls and a roof sells from some stupid number that it should never have sold for.
Like and share the show, viewers and listeners. Let us know your thoughts. I'll put them in the feed. Questions continue to come in. Lloyd Snook, hello. Welcome.
Hey, Lloyd. How's it
Welcome.
going?
Bill McChesney, Georgia Gilmer,
Looks
Yoda
like,
Smith.
It looks like your city council is now set.
Lonnie Murray, Mike Plecker, welcome to the program. The Titan of Troy, the gentleman farmer, Jay Wyatt, welcome to the broadcast.
Take
Gary
a look.
Palmer, welcome to the broadcast. Michael Pruitt, Aaron King, welcome to the broadcast. Brokers, Scott Thorpe, Sarah Hill Buchensky, Ray Cadell, Logan Wells Claylo, real estate firms left and right on the feed. Keith Smith is back. Keith Smith is back.
So look at Fluvanna County, my home county, right? 0 to 6 days, right? If you priced it right, you sold your home for $12,000 over. The whole county, the median sales price was $412. The median list was $400. If you went over 6 days, you sold it for $10,000 less. So you got to price it right. You just got to approach the market from a very price-sensitive perspective. And guess who are the smartest group of people out there right now?
Buyers?
The buyers.
The buyers have more leverage than they've had in years. Buyers have more leverage than they've had in years right now.
Well, they do and they don't, right?
What, you're saying because of the interest rate?
The problem is what's available at that price point, right? So there's still more buyers than there is. If you price it right and the features and the conditions are right, you will get multiple offers. You will sell it quickly, right? Even if you're from one side of the street to the other, right? I priced it right to the market. It's clean. I got the primary on the first level. I got a garage. You know, all my stuff is updated on the house, right? I'm going to get multiple offers very quickly and probably sell for over list price. Your house across the street doesn't meet all those things, and oh, by the way, my buddy 2 years ago got $50,000 for the house, so I want to list it for $50,000 over what the market is telling you right now, you just lost. You will lose. And not only will you lose, when you realize you lost, after you start getting into this 2 weeks or 30-day mark on it, going backwards is going to be next to impossible. Because guess who knows everything? The buyer. They know what you started it on, they know what you're at, and the buyer will just move on to something that checks all the boxes and ready to move in.
Comments, put them in the feed. Comments coming in. Jerry, you got to talk with Keith Smith of what happened with local elections. We certainly will do that. Evergreen Builders and Developers. We will break some news on the I Love CVille show at 12:30. I'll tease it right now on Real Talk with Keith Smith. The I Love CVille network is the place for conversation and news in Central Virginia. Legacy Media watches us and then reports it on their platforms. Here's the breaking news tease. Evergreen is scrapping the 6th Brownstone project at 303 Alderman Road and will build a massive single-family detached home.
And that is a duh, and they'll make a ton of money.
They're going to make a ton of money.
Yeah,
Perhaps that
and
was
the
the
sad-
path of least resistance from day one and the path that should have been pursued from day one.
Well, they pursued the path because they were told by ordinances and so forth and so on, this is what we want. The problem is, and again, I'm just repeating myself 100 million times, it's the back end, right? The site plan end of it. And
well, what didn't come up in title was covenants and restrictions from 1941 that did not show up in a title search. And it was missed at closing, these covenants and restrictions.
Well, that's
and those
interesting.
covenants and restrictions heard it from the horse's mouth, did not show up in closing. And when those covenants and restrictions did not show up in closing, Lewis Mountain, the neighborhood, and the sophisticated owners in Lewis Mountain and adjoining neighborhoods
reminded
did
everybody.
A deep dive on the covenants and restrictions and said, aha, this is going to be our Normandy beach. We will die on this beach using covenants and restrictions to fight this 6th Brownstone project.
Well, I'm surprised that they, I hope they got owner's insurance, title insurance policy. So they're going to get it from both ends because that should have got caught in title. That's very interesting.
You got some breaking news right there. We'll talk about it on the I Love CVille show. Should we talk about Sally Duncan winning a spot in the Jack Jewett district on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors? Beats Dave Shreve.
And
Jen Fleischer, City Council, ranked choice voting. Juan Diego Wade on council. Brian Pinkston out.
So here's my take on that. Very few people have just voted for the next path for the next 4 years for the city of Albemarle, the city of Charlottesville and the county of Albemarle. So only
voter turnout was meager.
Beyond meager.
Yeah.
It was ridiculously low. 11 out of 100 voters participated in Albemarle County. That's 11%. Now, it even breaks down.
Well, you also know that in the Jack Jewett race, you have to live in the Jack Jewett district to be able to vote in that election.
Yes.
Jack Jewett, race, you had to live in that district to vote.
100%.
Okay.
And most of the 9,962 voters were voting for the other races that were there, right? So as far as Albemarle County is concerned, right, you can't, I tried this morning, I couldn't break down the total number of voters in the Jack Jewett district, but at the end of the day, 726 voters made a decision on that seat out of a total of 8,700 and just it's 87,000, voters on that. And as you know, in the state of Virginia, you don't have to be party affiliated. Anybody can vote in a primary, right? You just got to be a registered voter. But the bottom line is you're now basically set in Albemarle County. You've got the one, Samuel Miller's still up, right?
Fred Missile.
Yeah.
Scott Smith. Scott Smith is going to join us on the I Love CVille show next week.
That'll be an interesting race. The long and short of it is the board is already set, right? The one vote one board member can hopefully, make a difference one way or the other. But for the most part, it's set. It's ready to go. The city of Charlottesville, done. It's ready to go. It is ready to rock and roll for the next 4 years. That was 9 out of 100 registered voters voted for Jen. 6 out of 100 voted for Juan Diego, and 2 out of 100 voted for Brian. But a total of 18%. That's 18
Voter
out of,
turnout in the city of Charlottesville was downright pathetic.
and
I'll say it. It was downright pathetic. He's too nice to say it.
And that is in a district race, right? So that really matters, right? The total number of registered voters really matters in the city of Charlottesville. So at the end of the day, 6,257 voters made a decision for 34,000 registered voters and for 50,000 citizens. So, there's this guy by the name of Neil that says elections matter.
Neil Williamson, president of the Free Enterprise Forum, was commenting on the show the other day. Bob
Elections
Shada, hello. Chad Wood, hello.
matter.
Carly Wagner, hello. Katie Pearl, hello.
So the agenda, from my perspective, from the city of Charlottesville, has now just been set, and we shall see how it goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us know your thoughts. We will put them in the feed. Comments are coming in. This is an interesting comment, ladies and gentlemen, from Deep Throat. Check out how low turnout is. There's a silent majority out there that someone sane needs to mobilize.
Yeah.
A silent majority.
Yeah,
that someone sane needs to mobilize.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a chance to crunch these numbers to this morning, and it just was shocking.
Sally Duncan running on a platform of raising taxes across the board.
Yeah, and both of them, look, I'm a housing advocate, right? Both of them were pro-housing, so we're going to see how that plays out over the city side of it and Albemarle County side of it. I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be too little too late.
Why do you say that?
I just think if you have both bodies pushing through housing as a priority, just the runway, even if they're on board and fast track them, the runway to go ahead and get projects in the ground will probably happen after this election cycle. In other words, it'll take more than 4 years to get anything put in the ground. So it could get in the system and get moving, but unless they figure out how to turn, as I always say, red tape into green tape, you're probably not going to see a lot of it.
Landslide victories for candidates and platforms that highlighted.
I don't see it as a landslide.
Oh, it's a dominant. She crushed Dave Shreve, Sally Duncan. It wasn't even close.
100%.
Brian Pinkston was so far in third place, it wasn't even close.
And
Brian Pinkston got hammered.
I get that. 100%.
Dave Shreve got hammered.
100%. 100%. But
I don't think Shreve, and I'll talk about this on the Alan CVille show. We don't talk about this on Real Talk. It was not a smart campaign by Dave Shreve. I'll highlight that. I said it to his face. I said it to him on the phone. I said it when he was on the I Love CVille show. Yeah. He's running a wrong campaign.
If we were betting folks, we kind of knew how that was going to go.
I told him, Sally Duncan is crushing you right now. You have to do these things. He did not do them.
But my point is, when you say landslide, if we would have had 30% turnout, 40% turnout, and had these same percentage numbers winning, it'd be a landslide.
She won 726 to 451, right?
Correct. I just don't know.
That's domination.
100%. Between those two numbers, 100%. But my point is that's only one out of every countywide vote. Now,
you're highlighting that the voter turnout was terrible. That's what you're highlighting.
And it's really, so when you use, in my mind, when you use the word blowout, yes, compared to two, it wasn't a contest. But still, 726 people basically made a decision to set the Albemarle County board for the next 4 years.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, because does Galloway have an opponent?
No, Galloway doesn't have an opponent.
And what we should highlight here in Albemarle County, ladies and gentlemen, what we should highlight here in Albemarle County is Mike Pruitt, who's watching the program. Supervisor Pruitt, you should come on the show. If you're here, Supervisor Pruitt, I'll give you a flying chest bump.
He's always
Supervisor Pruitt, Supervisor soon-to-be Supervisor Duncan, and Supervisor soon-to-be Galloway, current Supervisor Galloway. Those three are going to form a threesome, a pack, a triad, right? And if they can persuade,
Let's use the word block.
if they can persuade somebody else from maybe Malik, I don't think it's going to be Malik.
It won't be Malik.
I don't think it's going to be Lepisto Kirtley. The key for them to get some true
Well,
policy.
there's a better chance.
It's probably Missile in the Samuel Miller district. He
Yeah.
works for the UVA Foundation. If Pruitt, Duncan, and Galloway can recruit Missile over on certain policy and voting, you may see the following happen in Charlottesville, and I'm going to bang it out very succinctly for the viewers and listeners. A, you will see real estate taxes increase. B, you may see the 5% development area expand. C, you may see part of the development area traded out for other aspects of the that are outside the development
that
area.
you'll see.
Specifically, Pruitt campaigning for Rivanna Village outside Glenmore.
Yeah,
He says trade out Rivanna Village; it's in the development area for other tract of land that's outside the
So
development
you'll
area.
see that for sure.
This is a
And-
crossroads for Albemarle County.
And you're going to see.
And I've been all over this.
And you're going to see the reclassification of industrial and commercial.
This comment
Low
comes in.
hanging fruit.
This comment comes in off the record from an elected official. He says,
but before-
off the record, so many of us were telling Dave Shreve what you were saying on the I Love CVille show. He did not even have a campaign advisor. I told him, you need to run on the fact that Sally Duncan is a private school teacher. You need to run on the fact that she lives in a extremely large house in Earlysville while she's trying to kind of paint herself as a woe is me tenant and renter. She's paying absurd amounts of rent, higher than a lot of people's mortgages. Her husband, an extremely well compensated figure at City Hall in Charlottesville. And I told her, I told Dave Shreve, you need to run on a campaign that's saying she wants to raise your taxes. I don't. He did none of that.
Yeah.
He did none of that.
Well, my suspicion is he probably got talked into it and really didn't want to do it. But I don't know the man and never sat down and had a
I know the man.
Had a conversation.
And I said this to him to his face.
Yeah. But my point I'm trying to make is 726 votes made this decision. And you're right. I'm pretty sure Mr. Missile's going to win.
Mr. Missile's going to win. Steve Smith or Scott Smith. Scott Smith is on the show. What day is he on the show, Judah? Next week?
Yeah, and I'm not, I wish every single one of these elections we got coming up were contested. We literally got less than what you can count on one hand being contested. Nelson County is a little interesting. We go back to that later. There's quite a bit of contested races that are going to happen in there that just haven't hit the press yet that I got from our dear friend Jesse Rutherford. There's quite a few.
Watching the program, Jesse Rutherford.
There's quite a bit. We'll talk about that later. But my point I was trying to get at is, I was reading the so-called legacy media about landslide victories and all this stuff. And yes, right, when you compare numbers from candidate A and candidate B or candidate C, yes, in those individual numbers, but the percentage of voters that turned out that have now just had the ability to set the course for our and the coffee's kicking in, the two largest jurisdictions in our 6 jurisdictions, by far, is Albemarle and the city of Charlottesville. Those are the two 10-ton elephants in the room. There was 726 votes, and if you combine the 2 votes between Jen and Juan Diego, it was roughly 5,320-ish votes that set that course. So that course is now set, and these 2 seats, because, these 2 behemoth jurisdictions, and my friends in Greene County and Louisa, in my home county of Fluvanna, may not want to recognize this, but they kind of drive this region, right?
Charlottesville and Albemarle County dictate the pace and tempo for every county in Central Virginia.
And I have this conversation.
Every county in Central Virginia is impacted and influenced by Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Period.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So my friends in Fluvanna think about housing for particular, don't really care, that are anti-housing, don't really care what's happening in Albemarle or Charlottesville, and they should. And I try to encompass that, because when those numbers start going up, and even though if you define it as soft, right?
The market?
define it as soft.
The real estate market right now.
You can define it as soft.
I absolutely call it
You
soft.
can define it. You can define it in soft in volume, 100%. But at the end of the year, when we take a look at numbers, houses are going to be sold in certain jurisdictions, in certain locations, considerably higher than they were last year.
100%. I agree with that. The median value at the end of 2025 is going to flirt with double-digit increase versus the end of 2024.
No. Only in certain jurisdictions.
Albemarle County.
Albemarle County, yes.
Albemarle County's median sale value will be nearly double digits more than 2024.
Yeah, and I can tell you where it is right now.
What's the number?
I got to work on it to get it to you.
Okay.
But the reality of it is that certain jurisdictions won't, and certain micro locations within certain jurisdictions won't. But as when you take a look at the full car footprint, right, and all the product that is sold, it is going to be substantially below, double digits down in volume.
Oh, yeah.
Double digits. Not quite. The whole region won't be double digits, but it'll be flirting at double digits, really close to it. But yeah, so I'll let you ask me a question if you want me to figure that out.
Like and share the show. Like and share the show. Viewers and listeners, like and share the show. Comments in the
My
feed. We'll
small
relay them
coffee's
live on air.
kicking in.
James Watson, Que Pasa Chico.
Hey, James.
Dave Warwick, Que Pasa Chico. Like and share the show. If you have questions, put them in the feed. We'll relay them live on air. Albemarle County, Michael Guthrie, hello. Albemarle County, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, if Fred Missel joins the ideology platform of Galloway.
Well, we know he's pro-housing because he runs the
UVA Foundation.
UVA Foundation.
If
right?
Missel
And I
jumps
know him
on board
personally.
with Galloway, Duncan, and Pruitt, that is 4 of 6 on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors that will shape policy in Albemarle County for the next, geez Louise, 4 years. Pruitt's not starting his term right now. For the next handful of years. And I would not be surprised if Pruitt, I do think Mike Pruitt, and I know he's watching the program, I do think Mike Pruitt has ambitions to climb the political ladder. Do I think Mike Pruitt is going to run for a second seat, a second term in the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors? I would say he's contemplating it, but I would say that Michael Pruitt is also contemplating a run for delegate or some kind of state senator push his will. Okay?
Well,
I think Mike Pruitt is very politically ambitious. Okay, but I can say with confidence and conviction, if Fred Missel gets elected in the Samuel Miller district,
You'll have a couple years.
he will team with Galloway
Yeah.
and Duncan and Pruitt, 4 of 6, to change the complexion of Albemarle County, ladies and gentlemen.
I've been.
And that's going to cost you a hell of a lot more money, viewers and listeners.
I have been doing this stuff since 1987 and following politics, local politics, because in my opinion, state and federal is one thing, but like real estate, right? All politics is local, all real estate is local, right? If you take a look at some of the national local real estate trends and then compare them to our locals, they're very different.
Extremely different.
Very different.
I wouldn't
right?
even say close to comparable.
Yeah, very different. Yeah, and that's, that's part of the problem, right? When people start looping in what the national's doing without really engaging a local trusted advisor that knows how to take a dive into the local numbers or the local market, we'll go ahead and do that. So back on Albemarle County, do you want me to include new construction or not include new construction?
Include new construction, year over year. Where are median values?
I-
We're halfway through the year. January, February, March, April, May, June. We're halfway through the year. This is a great barometer to see what median values have done. Kevin Yancey, you are not correct here, sir. I respect you watching the program. When Sally Duncan gets 62% of the votes and Dave Shreve gets 38% of the votes, that is an ass kicking. Okay? That is a landslide victory.
So yes, when you just take that block of votes. And I'm going to keep on hammering. It's just.
You're hammering meager voter turnout.
Yeah, it's
with the
horrible.
voters that turned out.
100%.
She crushed it.
100%.
And
right.
that's all the barometer.
A win is a win.
Exactly.
A win is a win. And it wasn't close, percentage-wise. But when you have less than 1 in 100 of the...
And Fleischer dominated Pinkston.
100. Now,
How many votes did Pinkston have?
Pinkston, 823.
823 votes. How many votes did Fleischer have?
3,000.
She,
Yeah.
almost 4x'd Brian Pinkston.
So when you use
3.5x.
When you use the term landslide, yes. When it's in context of the number of folks who voted and who won, the people who won was a mandate. But was 3,108 voters in the city of Charlottesville representative of 34,000 registered voters? Forget about the total number of people. So, it's substantially low. Okay, here, let me get you some numbers.
And people can keep saying voter turnout. That doesn't count as a land. This is who chose to vote. This is who chose to vote.
So what matters?
Elections matter.
100%.
And people didn't care to vote.
And back to Deep Throat's comments, I wish I knew how to get people to show up to vote. I wish there was a magic wine.
This is what it is.
Well,
you want to know?
Let me finish my train of thought.
Go ahead.
So, because as somebody who's lived in the parts of the world where you were not allowed to vote, I just don't get it, right? I just don't get it if you have the opportunity to vote and you don't take it. And only 6,257 voters in the city of Charlottesville, in a state that it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, independent, or Republican, you can vote in a primary, right? Any primary. You just have to say, I'm voting for the Republican primary or the Democratic primary, of 34,000 registered voters. Forget about the 50,000 people that live here. 18 out of 100, 18% of the registered voters only showed up. That is ridiculously low.
You know what it is? It is an indication. Viewers and listeners of all shapes and sizes and of all political persuasions, I want you to hear what I have to say here. The voter turnout and how pathetic it was in the city of Charlottesville and how pathetic it was in Albemarle County is an indication of absolute apathy. And if you want improved voter turnout in Charlottesville City and Albemarle County, there is either the independents or the Republicans must figure out more charismatic, more confident, more charming, more conversational candidates.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Because who they are running are milquetoast. And when you position milquetoast on a ballot in jurisdictions that are dominated by one-party Democrats, you're going to have this kind of apathy, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it succinctly in a nutshell. Milquetoast candidates without campaign managers, without being aggressive on the campaign trail, without highlighting the warts of competition.
Or all these people that actually organized this and put this together know better than anybody, nobody's going to show up. And then it becomes a game of trying to master the 6,257 people that are actually going to show up to vote in the city of Charlottesville, or in Albemarle County, since it's much larger, the 9,962. In Albemarle County, total voter turnout was 11%. It just ticked just barely over.
And we knew it was
10%.
going to be a crappy turnout. We knew it was going to be a terrible turnout. Okay? It's a primary. It's not the general election. And it's a county dominated by one party.
Yeah, well, again, it doesn't matter. Anybody could have voted for that. You could have voted for that. You don't.
Anyone could have voted for the Jack Jewett race that lived in the Jack Jewett district. You have to live in the Jack Jewett district to vote in that race.
Yeah, I was more thinking of, thank you for clarifying that. I was thinking more of like the lieutenant
City
governor.
council.
And city councils are wide open.
Anyone could have voted in the Democratic primary and city council.
So I think you actually might be right.
Viewers and listeners, comments. Yancey says it's a true feeling of hopelessness when no matter what the people feel is right, the dais does the exact opposite. I will highlight this.
So here's the comment to that, and I love Kevin, love him to death. The problem is 3,108 voters has set what the dais is going to say. That's it. So that's it. You're done. So you didn't show up if you were in the city of Charlottesville. If you were you're not part of one of the 6,257 people who actually voted. You kind of lost your chance.
I will highlight this. Viewers and listeners. Albemarle County. I live in Ivy. I live in Albemarle County. The voting foursome of Duncan, Missile if elected, Galloway, and Pruitt, when they choose to increase real estate tax rates, when assessments are upticking, while also increasing personal property tax rates, This will not make the county of Albemarle more affordable. Instead, it will do the opposite.
Ready for the
It will make Albemarle County even more a bastion and playground of 1% wealth. Because when you make tax rates more expensive at the time assessments are going up, that means you have less buying power and have to carry more monthly debt service.
And if you don't have enough houses for people to move in, they're going to move out of it, only that 1%, and the affluent's going to...
And then they're going to try to expand the development area. And when they try to expand the development area, they're going to do it at a time when labor's too expensive, when floating debt is too expensive, when the cost of construction is too expensive, and when the small builder, the medium-sized builder, has been eviscerated by 10 years of headwinds.
So I don't have it with me. I actually was working on it for next Friday, was what percentage, assuming you make the area median income, what percentage of homes are available that's currently on the market, available for buyers to buy, like say in Albemarle County. I don't have the numbers on the market. I think it's somewhere around 25%. So that's to your point, and nationwide is about 25%. I think we're a little bit higher or lower, but I haven't finished doing the math yet on it. So from a nationwide perspective, only about a quarter of the people that live in the jurisdictions can afford what's on the market.
And it's going to get worse.
And it's going to get worse, 100%. So we got a little making up to do percentage-wise. Right now, the median sales price in Albemarle County, including new construction, this is median, is $570. Same period in 24 was $531, so that's a 6.34%.
570 median in 2025 at this point, including new construction.
Including new construction. This is all property types, attached, detached, and condos. And this is median sales price. Same period in 24 was $531. Unless I've done my math wrong, this is 6.34%. So right now, the difference between if you bought a home somewhere in the first 6 months and 20 stays in 2024 versus this point, your value has gone up 6.3%. You ready for the down on the sale?
Which county are you going to go with?
No, this is Albemarle County. No,
Okay.
I'm talking about units now.
Okay.
25, 640, 24, 705.
That's more than 6%.
No, sir.
531, the median in 2024 at this time, versus 570 now, is what you're saying?
Yeah, did I do the math wrong?
That's plus 7%. So 531,000 is you're saying, right?
530 and 24, 570.
530 or 531?
531
531. Okay.
versus 570.
That is an increase of 7.5%.
Okay.
7.5% at this point, halfway through the year, median values have upticked.
Yeah. I wrote the wrong number. It's exact number is 6.84%. I wrote 6.34%. So call it 7%. Number of units sold, though, that will be, right now, we're not quite in double digits in value in Albemarle County. We got to make up another 5 points, another 4 points.
Albemarle County at the close of this year will finish at double-digit median value uptick.
But just add it, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to be just shy of it or just over 10. I don't think you're going to see these large double-digit numbers. But the volume right now is, you can double-check my math, it's 640 was so far has closed in 25.
640 units?
Yeah. 705 and 24, I've got 9.22% negative. So there's been roughly 9.25% less units closed. Is it right?
And I'd have to bust my calculator out. And I want to highlight this. 2024 was a down year.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So 2025 is a down year versus a down year 2024.
So that's an interesting point. So since I have this thing up, what year you want to pick?
2019 is the barometer. Jason Howard watching the program on Rio Road. He's the king of Rio Road, the mayor of Rio Road, royalty on Rio Road. Jason Howard. Can anything substantially actually change in one term? The NZO was made in the city over a year ago, and it hasn't had much impact on actual builds, just increased values. Is there any chance of a more large-scale development if there's a chance to make the board changes next terms and puts the brakes on any changes? It's a great question from Jason Howard. Ned Galloway is about to be on the board for his third consecutive term.
So that goes back
Third
to
consecutive
that's
term.
goes back to the comment that I made that it's going
I
to.
love Ned Galloway.
It's going to be really hard in 4 years to do anything, right? And you got this silly thing called a lawsuit that's going on with the city of Charlottesville for the rezoning. How is that going to impact it? Not impact it on it, but
Lawsuit in Arlington County, Virginia.
Yeah.
Arlington County, Virginia tried to also do a radical new zoning ordinance. They rolled it out. Then homeowners in Arlington County, Judah knows this, viewers and listeners, giddy up and get ready for this. Arlington County rolls out a radical new zoning ordinance. Homeowners in Arlington County sue the county. 3 judges later, the first 2 recused themselves because of conflict of interest, because they lived in Arlington County and said, we can't preside over this case. Our home values are tied to this new zoning ordinance. It's a conflict of interest. Judge Worrell did not do that in the Charlottesville city. That's a topic for a different conversation. So Arlington County homeowners, they win. While this lawsuit was going on, builders decided to build houses based on the radical new zoning ordinance. Those houses were constructed and now are ready for sale. Those houses that are listed, ladies and gentlemen, have language in their listing agreement saying, if Arlington County does not win this appeal on the new zoning ordinance, this house that we built may have to be torn down. They are marketing and trying to sell homes with listing agreements that say this house might have to be raised if Arlington County does not win the appeal. How does that get financed? How does that get clean title?
yeah, that is an unbelievable can of worms. I'll get into what I think I know is going to happen in Charlottesville from my perspective, but let me get to the numbers, the 19. Prices in Albemarle County since 2000, same period, 2019 versus 2025, has went up 33.86%. That 570 is where we're at now, median sales price. The median sales price at the same period in 19 was 377. It's jumped 33.86%. And we've went down in volume of sales 22.79%. So 640 is the number of units that have closed in 25 versus 829. So we've lost a volume of, let's call it, rounded up to 23%. We lost volume. We've increased in value. I'm going to round it up to 34%. So 34% increase since 19 versus 25. This is everything, right? This is new construction, attached condos, so forth and so on. That's why the numbers are. If you were to just do detached, the numbers would be a little bit higher. The volume of units are 640 versus 829. Tell you that. So let's talk about, because I knew this was going to come up. Let's talk about what's going to happen in the city of Charlottesville now.
The Charlottesville lawsuit on the new zoning ordinance does not have its day in court until...
Doesn't matter.
Until when, Judah? When is the day in court for the Charlottesville new zoning ordinance lawsuit? Let's get a 3-shot from Judah Wickhauer so people can see the dashing, the dapper, the distinguished, the downright dangerous Judah Wickhauer.
D's? That's a lot of D's.
They've scheduled it for next June, 2026.
More than a year away.
Yeah.
More than a year away. I, on Wednesday's edition of the I Love CVille show, interviewed our friends Richard Price and Roger Voisinay to talk about Will and Mills Court.
Yeah.
And the first they had heard of the Arlington County homes with listing language saying if Arlington County doesn't win its appeal, these homes may be torn down. I passed that on to them, and they were taken aback.
So we're not at, so let's talk a little bit about the impact on Charlottesville. That's a great piece of information. That's in Arlington, and that's their fight to fight. We, because of the inability, let me rephrase that, because of the red tape in Charlottesville, no units have really been produced since the zoning. Those two gentlemen are going to be actually probably the first ones.
Oh, they're the guinea pigs.
The guinea pigs. Oh, by the way, they did a workaround because they're not really using the zoning ordinance. They just subdivided it into 4 lots.
They figured out a hack.
They figured out a hack to go ahead and do it, and that's what the market does. That's what developers do. That's what business folks do.
They straight up said if we had to do this again, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because what they did is they opened a book and said, "Okay, here's the book, and we go and do this." But I wanted to get this out because I know that this is going around. this lawsuit for the city of Charlottesville means absolutely nothing.
I respectfully disagree.
And I'll tell you why. Well, it means nothing because I know how it works on this side of the table. So what does matter, and that's the reason I've been hemming and hawing on the low percentage turnout, 3,108 people, they'll just fix this, right? Because what's going to happen here? Let's say magic.
They didn't fix it. They didn't fix it.
Let me get this out. Now give me an opportunity. So, and I've said this before. Let's imagine tomorrow, the Supreme Court of Virginia says you're wrong and you need to go back to the old zoning, right? Let's say that happens. What do you think the market's going to do? What do you think the market's going to do?
Adapt.
Yeah, and what it's going to do is, because there's a lot.
Do what we all do as business owners, figure it out.
There's a lot in my world, in the development building world, in the world that real estate world. They just looked at this, and I've now got 3 yes votes on the city council for a development. I'm just going to rezone it. It'll take me a little bit longer.
You already had the 3 votes. Pinkston was the man who voted the new zoning ordinance in.
No.
Fleischer with Pinkston
I'm not doing a good job of this argument. It's done. It's over. The new zoning just went away. All the city council needs to do is just approve subdivisions. That's all they need to do.
Keith, this is okay. I appreciate your take here. God, I love that you're back. You're so good. You're so good behind a microphone and in front of the camera.
That's not that. I just know how.
You're so good.
I just know how this market works. I also know, because these are conversations I'm having with developers and builders, and they don't really. As long as they've got 3 yes votes for a rezoning, they'll go through the rezoning process of it. As long as those 3 yes votes are solid on, yes, we want housing at whatever.
They've always had the votes. They've had the votes for 10 years.
They've had the votes for 10 years, but they've never got this. Timing matters, right? So if I was a man that was 20 years younger than I am right now, I would be buying land and stacking them up and prepping them for rezoning. That's what I would be doing in the city of Charlottesville, because these elected body, and we're going to bring these folks on. We're going to bring Juan Diego and Jen on and have this conversation. Juan Diego said, yes, I haven't spoken to Jen yet about this, and go, look, if the simple question, because it's going to end up all the way up to the Virginia Supreme Court is where it's going to go. Same with Arlington. It's just going to work its way that way to it. It's gone away. I bring a subdivision that meets your ordinances.
My response to that, you ready for this? Okay, first I'll provide data first. The Neighborhood Development Services has data on its portal. This data, readily available to anybody. Of the 715 approved and not under construction units. They are not under construction. They are approved on the Neighborhood Development Services portal. There's 715. Less than 20 of them are under the new zoning ordinance. Of the more than 900 units that are currently under construction in the city of Charlottesville, more than 900 units, every single one of them is in the old zoning.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of the 900 units that is under construction right now is old zoning. There's 715 that are approved and not under construction. Less than 20 are under the new zoning ordinance. An indication it's a flop.
You just made my argument for me.
I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going here. The Lewis Mountain neighborhood utilized covenants and restrictions from 1941. Covenants and restrictions that did not show up in a title search at closing of 303 Alderman
I feel
Road.
sorry for the guys at Evergreen, but they didn't do their homework.
To kill a 6 luxury brownstone project on Alderman Road.
How do you
think about the carrying costs that Evergreen has done? They paid $835,000 for something more than a year ago.
Evergreen's great people. They built
great
a great,
people. Love
great,
Evergreen.
great home and all that stuff.
Evergreen's the best. Love Evergreen.
But somebody screwed up.
Not hating on you, Evergreen.
Somebody
you did
screwed
screw
up.
up here.
Somebody
For more
screwed
than a year, they've had carrying costs, legal fees, lawyers, brand equity damage. Cost of $835,000 to buy a brick rancher that is old at best, right?
Yeah, no.
And their project is toast.
Yeah, I would not want to be the lawyer that closed that deal.
They've had multiple lawyers.
Yeah,
On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, on top of that, you have a new zoning ordinance lawsuit that is so arduous and so stuck in quicksand that it's not going to be determined until June of next year.
And it doesn't.
And the plaintiffs have said we're going to appeal when Worrell makes this decision if it doesn't go our way because he's a homeowner in the city of Charlottesville and his wife is a housing activist. And we're going to use Arlington County as a comp to justify that appeal.
And that is going to go on and on.
Who would touch the city right now with any development? Who would do it? Why would you do it?
Yeah, that's a better question.
Why would you do it?
Yeah, but in my scenario, if it magically went away, the market would adapt. This election,
but there's no such thing as magic.
I understand that, is a clear mandate to do that. So what if? And this will be a question I've asked Aunt Juan Diego, and I will ask the city councilors.
I think that's above Juan Diego Waite's pay grade.
If you really want that numbers to change, not be 20, but be a bigger unit, to have units in the ground and go ahead and get units built, they got to figure out the back end, right? I don't know how, in the state of Virginia, which is a property rights state, I don't know how, and I know a little bit about this, I don't know how under the current zoning that has not been reversed, it doesn't matter if it's on a lawsuit, if I get it approved and built and conveyed out, how somebody can change that. I don't think that's possible. You can't, I don't know how you can tear down something once it's there. You know, reason I know.
The judge told them.
No, let me finish this. You know why I know that? Because you have things that are called grandfathered in.
And Arlington County, the initial judge told every developer in Arlington County, if you build something while this is under appeal or undecided, you may have to tear this down. The judge warned the development community.
I got it, but tell me how that works, Coach, right? And the word may is super huge. How does that work? Again, I don't know the specifics of Arlington County.
How do you sell a house in Arlington County under this environment?
Now that's a different question.
Okay, how do you get financing for it? How do you get title?
That is a very different question.
Who would lend on this?
And that is another very different question. And is that now a material defect?
Obviously.
I don't think it is. I think it won't be defined as a material defect because
the fact that you may have to tear down your house?
The word may is important. We're going to bring, because this is a big question. I'm going to bring
Bill
in
Tucker.
And
Bill Tucker was, I'm fairly confident Tucker was Price and Voisinet's attorney at Woolen Mills Court, is.
We're going to bring Tucker and John Ralston in.
Love John Ralston.
And we're going to say, okay, guys, or Valerie Long, which is probably better.
Valerie's fantastic.
Bring in them and say, okay, Coach, I just built a house under the new zoning ordinance.
We talked about this with a lawyer, Jerry Cox, on the show.
Yeah. And he said, if this all go, they have the right to do that, to tear it down.
He says Arlington, he said Arlington County is going through this before Charlottesville City.
No, I get all that. He
said Charlottesville City should be literally watching Arlington
County. No. No argument there. No argument there. But if I build a house, I know that's wrong. If I build something right now under the current ordinances, let me finish. Current ordinance, I build it,
why would you
sell
build
it,
something now?
And K it. Doesn't matter. But the argument you're making is that it might have to be turned down if they change the zoning ordinance. The answer to that is they can't make you do that in the state of Virginia. They cannot, and I want some lawyer on here to tell me I'm wrong, but it's a property rights state. If I build under the current approved, it doesn't matter if it's under appeal or not, the current zoning ordinances that's adopted and approved, you're telling me the city of Charlottesville can come in and say, you now must tear this house down. There's no way in hell that'll happen. It's a property rights state. You can't do that.
I would love to hear.
Let's get attorneys to do that than me, but I've done enough development to know that that's it. Now, if it's under appeal, maybe does that change the dynamics?
Arlington County is appealing the judge's decision, which voted in favor of plaintiffs that said the new zoning ordinance was radical because it did not consider infrastructure strain.
So what it probably means is that
officials did not adequately study the strain on infrastructure.
Yeah, I know the why. if it's right or wrong is immaterial, right? For this argument or this discussion we're having right here is, and it may be right. It may be that once it's in anything post-appeal, the judge might be right. You're doing this at your own risk. Prior to the appeal, if it's in the ground, it's in the ground. So we're not even, in the city of Charlottesville.
Speaking with a lot of confidence on that.
Well, I'm 100% sure of that. If it's in the ground and built.
I can get Jerry Cox, the attorney, on the show if you want to talk about it.
Sure.
A lawyer.
100%.
Okay.
If it's approved and done prior to an appeal, right? If it gets built right now and done and occupied, built, done, and occupied right now under the current zoning before it hits some sort of appeal process, there is no way in heck in the state of Virginia that you're gonna that some judge is gonna go and you now need to tear this down because it met the code and the zoning at the time. We'll get a couple of attorneys.
We should get the attorneys on. We should get there's
And I'll bet you-
that I know that came on the show that is disagreeing with what you're saying.
I'll bet you when you ask the question differently.
Because then why put the listing? Why put that language that it may have to be torn down in the listing agreement?
Because it's probably this. I'm not sure, but my guess is because it's in the appeal process. So it's this distinctive timeline is it before the appeal or after the appeal?
These were built prior to the appeal.
Built and occupied.
These were built.
Built and occupied.
Well, I'd have to get some clarity on that.
Built and occupied. If it's built
get
and
some clarity on
occupied
that.
and conveyed,
Yeah.
there is no
built, not occupied. Built and ready for sale.
Okay. And that may be the case. I don't know that, but I
Built
know.
and ready for sale, not occupied.
Okay. It has not conveyed out.
It has not conveyed yet.
There may be a
The
possibility.
units have not conveyed. We should put that in layman's terms. Not sold to somebody.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
So
I completely agree with you that if something is built
and occupied.
and someone purchases it,
Okay, got it. All right. We're
that's
saying
different.
the same thing. Okay.
But something that is built and not sold,
yeah, okay, got it.
who would ever build in that scenario?
Got it. Got it.
Would you build in that scenario?
No, not under that scenario that's set up.
Right.
Not that would be silly, but we're not
Right.
there.
We're getting pretty close, though.
No, we're not. Apparently, we're not going.
June of next year, and they're going to appeal it.
Okay, so we got
Between now and June,
and what's not going to happen? Nothing, because
nothing's going to happen.
Because of
Exactly. All the headwinds that builders are facing, all the red tape that they're facing, setback requirements they're facing.
By the way, May was the lowest in 5 years of new construction.
Floating debt that's out there,
Yeah,
cost of labor, cost of goods, tariffs, uncertainty tied to Donald Trump.
Well, also, if you take a look at that data closely, because I read
UVA freezing pay.
if you take a look at that data closely, the primary reason why building permits are down, there's not lots for them to put them on. But all those factors are on top of it. Lumber,
Tariffs, Trump, cost of debt, cost of labor, cost of goods, labor uncertainty with the University of Virginia, government cuts tied to the defense sector in Charlottesville.
and it's 11/21. And
This is great.
And
I love this. I've missed you.
I missed you too, sweetheart. And thank you for not showing off my legs with the camera. And I know this firsthand. The big guys, Horton,
Stanley
Martin,
ain't doing it.
Ryan. You know what they're doing?
Going to agree?
They're intentionally slowing down their sales.
Yeah.
They're intentionally.
They're certainly not building in Charlottesville.
I can tell you, because I looked at the numbers. They will build out Colonial Circle, probably about 3/4 of it by the end of this year. They'll pop 200, probably 150 of the 200 units, put them in the ground, put people in them by the end of this year. Because I drove past in 2 weeks. I haven't been past that in 2 weeks. There's 24 more new foundations in the ground. They're just selling them like that. But what they do in certain markets, they start slowing down. When the market gets a little goofy, if you really want to know how the housing market's doing, watch the big builders, right? When they start toning down their units in the ground, what are they trying to do? They're creating less units, which is increasing more value.
They're creating less units so they can maintain price and or escalate price because
That's
they're
exactly what they're
throttling
doing.
supply.
Geez, I might have done that once or
They're
twice.
throttling supply to increase price point. Lonnie Murray watching the program. He
Hey,
says,
Lonnie.
I grew up in Ivy and watched as Ivy was a village, then stopped being a village because it ran out of water. It is interesting that the current rural area came about because of concerns that South Fork Rivanna Reserve would become unusable as a water supply. Those are interesting lessons that have informed my own point of view. I predict housing will be far more expensive in 4 years. We'll have serious infrastructure deficits, and minorities will be disproportionately displaced by increased development. I hope I'm wrong on that, but I've never seen an example at Albemarle where rapid, uncontrolled sprawl didn't have those effects. I effing 1,000% agree with that comment to the T.
Lonnie,
1,000% agree.
Lonnie, thanks for the Facebook posts. And Yona and I did an epic hike on a little island called Station.
I am 8.9% of the time in absolute agreement with Lonnie. That is exactly what's going to happen. You will see Duncan, Pruitt, Galloway, and Missile galvanize on policy and voting over the next years to come, and all it's going to do is gentrify the community and drive up price points even more. They may create some money for an affordable housing slush fund. They may have some money for that slush fund, but everything else in Albemarle County is going to get more expensive.
So I'm going to say this.
And they'll create pockets of poverty in Albemarle County as a result.
I'm going to say this in the most kindest words I can say. I can say this. It doesn't matter if it's Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, the Marx Brothers, whoever is sitting in those seats. It doesn't matter. What Lonnie just outlined is happening. And it will continue to happen. It doesn't matter. The market is driving it. When you have 23% less homes sold between in Albemarle County between 2019 and 25, and you have a 34% increase in price, that ship is rolling.
And wait till the data science school is finished and the
Yeah,
Paul
yeah, yeah.
Manning
We've been saying
Biotech
that.
Institute is finished next year.
Yeah. And why do you
5,000 more people move here?
And why do you think I'm so passionate about housing affordability? And why am I going to talk to the industry leaders in September?
Because you're a good man.
Look, I'm also going to be a little self-serving here, which I very rarely do. It's also good. If we don't have enough units to sell, that's not good for business.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not good for business. It'll be good for us. We'll do well because wait until I show you the numbers of the percentage of agents who are actually selling 3 or 4 more units in the car footprint.
I bet you it's dropped considerably.
Substantial.
Yeah.
Substantially. So you're going to have
Less agents,
less product, more money.
less agents doing potentially more business, potentially.
And we did a lot of work when we were gone for 2 weeks. There's not a single transaction I'm doing right now.
That's not uncomplicated.
And I'm loving it.
Super hairy.
And I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Because you got to have skills. I'm literally doing a cash transaction right now.
That's complicated.
That is effing complicated.
Think about that, folks.
Because the seller, catch this, the seller, unbeknownst to us until I found out literally on the plane ride going home,
Had some debt that you didn't know about it against the property.
tried 12 judgments.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So all that happens is you're going to get a bunch of FedEx packages at closing, and those liens are going to have to pay it off at closing.
12
What,
judgments.
you just not pay his taxes? His real estate taxes? Some contractor liens? We got contractor liens?
I can't really talk about
Okay.
it, but I can just tell you, it was like, oh. And it's interesting. I had
What, did this come up in title?
Yeah.
And that was never mentioned before?
Nope.
What did they think that they were going to bamboozle and get that through? They didn't? That's bananas to me. I just don't understand how people think that they can do that.
Sometimes instincts matter. And I had an instinct on this one. It just didn't feel right
Yeah.
going in. And I told my buyer, I said, look, this is a simple cash transaction. If you want to save a little money, we can do a closing company. But I'm telling you, something doesn't feel right here, and we need to use an attorney. And I'm so glad that my instincts kicked in and we're using an attorney, because it is a straight-up cluster. I got closing next Friday.
And did the seller's agent know about it? You genuinely don't think the seller's agent knew about it?
I got to take that person on face value.
Is the person legitimate?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you were involved in a title search and did a title search, these liens would not show up.
I get that. I get that. But the seller's agent, did they have the conversation with the seller? Do you have any debt or liens against your property?
This particular individual I know well enough that would have asked that question.
Okay, right, because that's a question that a rookie should ask.
It's amazing how many people don't.
I bet you a bunch of rookies don't because they're so eager to get the listing.
And
They don't want the uncomfortable conversation.
people do not like talking about money.
Uncomfortable.
First thing out of my
I love uncomfortable conversations.
well, first thing out of the box with me. So tell me how much you owe on the house.
Yeah, as you should.
And you can
You
tell.
should have that
You can
question.
tell me,
Yeah.
or I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this a bit arrogantly
Right.
at the moment. But obviously with trust and feeling and all that
That
stuff.
should be the first
So I got a deal that's closing on Friday. Welcome back, Smith. I got a deal that's closing on Friday. That's cash. A young couple that busted their tush over since COVID to now to raise this money. They literally busted the tush to come up with enough cash to buy this in closing. They got to move out of their apartment, right? I got,
12 liens to figure out.
and now I'm asking questions. Okay, guys.
Time to find another house.
No, I got a path. We're going to make
Okay.
it work. We're actually going to make it work. Some of these attorneys we talked about right now are going to, and us are going to, we're going to make this work. We've got a path. It's a little outside of the box, but we got a path. I'll tell you, if it was a loan deal,
You would have found a different house.
we would have been finding a different house.
Yeah.
But we've got some trick stuff that we can make this happen. Because it's literally on the way in, the two couples are in tears, the young couple's in tears. You know, they love the house, yada, yada, yada.
I've done some deals where, at this point in my life, I don't understand why anyone wouldn't do a deep dive on that, on any house. Right?
I did what I could on the front
It's
end.
worth the money. I mean, how much is the money? A couple grand?
Oh, no.
$750?
To do a title search?
$750?
Under 1,000.
Yeah. Depending on who you're using. $750 to $1,500?
Yeah. So this was a quick turnaround. Went under contract before I left, literally the day before I left, and within 2 weeks. So this is like a quick close. Normally, what we do, like on a loan deal, as soon as we hand the documents over, we pull a title search. Day one, do a title search. You don't necessarily want to mess around with a title search on the front end, particularly in one of these areas. And I'm taking too much time. In these areas that
This is fun. I
these
love this.
areas that are selling fast.
Yeah.
The ones that are selling slow,
got time.
do a little homework on it. The ones that are selling fast, make sure you got your proverbial tush covered, get it on the contract, and then start getting your team members in place. That's why number 6 matters, right? Who's on your team matters on it, and start pulling the stuff. But
A master class in real estate, once again, from Keith Smith, sun-kissed from 2 weeks in the Caribbean, celebrating his anniversary with the beautiful, multilingual Yona Smith. Keith Smith and Yona Smith
Wish us
are
luck
who
this weekend.
you should trust in the buying and selling process at Yes Realty Partners, because they have, is it 35 years? No, it's 38 years.
Yeah.
38 years of local real estate experience.
and been married for
Actually,
39.
it's more than 38 years. It's 38 for Keith, 38 for Yona. Okay? So you're looking at a combined, ladies and gentlemen, 76 years of collective experience with Keith and Yona.
It's funny, that's awfully close to much. I'm a lot closer to that in my age.
76 years of collective experience.
It's not just us, though. We're growing. We got a bunch of great folks.
Yes
there.
Realty Partners online at yesrealtypartners.com. Judah Wickhauer behind the camera. The I Love CVille show at 12:30. Keith Smith was on point. Thank you kindly for joining us so long, everybody.
Loved it. Thank you. By the way, nice shirt.
Thank you. Very nicely done, Keith Smith. That was
Yeah, yeah.
On fire.
Coffee kicked in.